Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, March 24th, and we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Supervisor Ellenberg from District 4, unfortunately, is absent today due to a family medical situation. And at this point, if I could please have our clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Abakoga.
Here.
Supervisor Young.
Here.
Supervisor Ellenberg is absent. Vice President Arenas.
Here.
President Lee.
Good morning, President, as well.
And you have a quorum of 4.
Thank you. And clerk, would you mind reading the interpretation announcements?
Thank you. If we could please have the interpreters translate the following statement in Spanish and Vietnamese. And I do believe we have a third interpreter today as well, is what I was seeing on Zoom. If you're in chambers and require Spanish or Vietnamese translation, translation devices are available in the back of chambers. The deputy clerk can assist you with setup. Translation is also available in Zoom using the interpretation button. Additionally, as a gentle reminder for public commenters, staff, and those on the dais, please speak clearly and directly into the microphone to improve the accuracy of translation.
Interpretation in Vietnamese. Nếu quý vị ở trong phòng họp, dụng cụ phiên dịch có sẵn ở phía cuối phòng. Nhân viên chúng tôi sẽ giúp quý vị để sử dụng. Phiên dịch cũng có trên mạng Zoom. Quý vị có thể bấm vào nút Interpretation, phiên dịch. Khi phát biểu ý kiến, xin nói rõ và nói chậm để giúp bảo đảm sự chính xác của phiên dịch. Cảm ơn.
Interpretation in Spanish. Buenos días a todos. Tenemos interpretación disponible en vietnamita, español y chino. Los dispositivos se encuentran en la parte de atrás de la sala y les puede ayudar el personal en la parte de atrás. También tenemos interpretación en Zoom, en el botón de interpretación en la parte de abajo de la barra de Zoom. Para las personas en el público y el personal, se les recuerda por favor hablar de manera clara y directa en el micrófono para asegurar la exactitud de la interpretación. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. And the Mandarin interpreter? I'm not sure that light may just be signed on for an unknown reason. I believe that concludes our interpretations.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So first, before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to celebrate Nowruz, the Persian New Year, which is a beautiful and timeless tradition that has brought people together for over 3,000 years. This is rooted in ancient Persia and aligned with the arrival of spring Nowruz, meaning new day, marks not only the turning of the season, but also a powerful moment of renewal, hope, and new beginnings. Nowruz reminds us of the opportunity to start fresh with gratitude, compassion, and unity. It is the time when families gather, wear new clothes, visit loved ones, and reflect on the importance of forgiveness, peace, and connection. One of the most cherished traditions is the half-seen table, where 7 symbolic items, each beginning with the letter S in Farsi, represent values such as health, prosperity, and renewal. Today, more than 300 million people across the countries like Iran, Afghanistan, and Turkey celebrate Nowruz, with celebrations often extending 13 days. Here in St. Clara County, we are proud to recognize and honor this vibrant tradition with nearly 60,000 Iranian families who make up our community, many of whom celebrate Nowruz and share the traditions of Persian New Year with the community at large. And to our Iranian American community, thank you. Thank you for your countless contributions to our county through your culture, your innovation, your entrepreneurship, and your commitment to family and community values. You enrich the fabric of our region in meaningful and lasting days. And in light of the current conflict, we also want to I acknowledge that this season may feel especially heavy for so many. Our thoughts are with the people of Iran and the loved ones right here and around the world. As we celebrate this new day, may it bring renewed hope, health, prosperity, and peace to all. Nowruz Mubarak. Thank you. And next, I'm going to ask Vice President Rennes, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand if you're able. Ready? Begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Okay, and I will go ahead and pass it to Vice President Rennes to introduce our invocator today.
Good morning, everyone. And as we gather today to recognize National Farm Worker Awareness Week, we also have to honor the people whose labor sustains our state and our nation. And it's especially fitting that today's invocation will be offered by someone who has dedicated her life to uplifting farm workers and advancing social justice. And it's my honor to introduce Shirley Trevino. And as she walks up to the podium, I will be talking a little bit about her before she begins her comments. I just want to say what a wonderful human being she is, and share that you've done so much in your life, Shirley, to advance social justice, to ensure that our farm workers have a voice. And you began that by founding a member of organizations such as Causa, the Institute of Nonviolence, and the Latina Coalition. And as a student at Santa Clara University, you fought for increased Latino enrollment and more scholarships for Latino students, understanding how deeply education is a way that moves us ahead in our careers and our lives, and you wanted that for everyone else. So I'm just so proud how your dedication has served all of us. And you've served us by being at Casa Legal, the Agricultural Labor Relations Board, where you rose to Chief of Operations and later Department of Industrial Relations, and at the San Francisco Office of Labor Standard Enforcement. So you have over 45 years of career dedicated in labor relations. And you've earned yourself quite a bit of a reputation statewide, which I will say why it is such an honor to have you here with us. We are one of the strongest voices for workers, especially for farm workers. And you know, we have recognized you not only here locally, but you've also been part of the 100 most influential Latinas of Silicon Valley, celebrated by the La Raza Historical Society. And for that and for so much more. But today, I also want to share with people how your legacy continues to unfold and has inspired new models of empowerment, including La Coalición de Pequeños Agricultores de California. And this is a small coalition of small agricultural workers of California. And this is a woman-led farm worker cooperative and a growing force in our region and across the state, which I'm really proud to have supported in the past, will continue to support, and all the women and the men who form part of this. And this coalition is driving transformative change by supporting small scale, which is often Latino farmers, and many of them former farm workers who are working to build sustainable and community-rooted agricultural workers. And it reminds me of a story that Dolores Huerta had shared about when there was the prohibition of grapes, because we wanted to make sure that pesticides were in control. She went to the east side of the country and started with small vendors and stores and led up to bigger stores, while on this side of the coast, Cesar Chavez stayed on this side, and he started with the big chains and then went down to the smaller chains. And the truth is that the women on the East Coast had done much more and had achieved this prohibition of the grapes when there was a strike against them. And so I just see you as in the same light, starting with our small and rooted in our community, all of these women doing their part to contribute. But I'll let you say what you need to say in terms of your message. I just wanted to share who you have been. That's wonderful, Shirley. And you can go ahead and, I know you're very, you give us so much courtesy, but it's okay to give your back to us as you face the public. And if you just turn around, there's a mic built into that podium, I promise you.
As we gather in this moment of reflection, let us pause to honor the hardworking farm workers who cultivate the lands, nurture our crops, and sustain our communities. In California, farm workers help produce over 350 commodities, including a third of the nation's vegetables and nearly 2/3 of the nation's fruits and nuts. California produces 90% of the strawberries grown in the USA. Margarita here is a strawberry grower in Aromas, and their tireless efforts, often behind the scenes, are the backbone of our food system and a testament to resilience and dedication. They are essential in maintaining the integrity of our food systems, foster socioeconomic growth, and cultivate environmental stewardship through sustainable practices. We recognize the challenges they face, the long hours under the sun, the struggle for fair wages, and the pursuit of dignity in their labor. Farm work is dangerous. Agriculture has the highest fatality rate among major industries. In honoring them, may we amplify their voices and advocate for their rights, ensuring that their contributions are valued and respected. By this invocation today, we are letting them know that we understand their plight and we stand firmly behind their contributions to feeding the nation and the world. Farm workers and their children experience a higher rate of pesticide exposure that pose serious health risk. Let us express our gratitude for the nourishment they provide, respecting not only the food on our tables, but also the hands that bring it forth. Often they put food on our tables, yet sometimes they don't have enough to eat. May this week serve as a reminder of our interconnectedness and our shared responsibility to create a more just, healthy, and equitable world for farm workers and all workers. Together, we celebrate the spirit of farm workers everywhere, invoking a future where their inalienable rights are upheld, their livelihoods flourishing, and their communities thriving. Despite facing numerous challenges, we want to let them know today that we recognize their valuable contributions and we hold them in the highest regard for their hard work. Let us stand in solidarity, acknowledging their dignity and honor in every meal we share. Thank you and amen. Just want to say that they brought boxes of produce for the supervisors. Their hard-working hands picked the strawberries, harvested the lettuce and all the vegetables that are in there. They each are going to get a jar of chile from the chiles that they grew, and in each of the boxes you will have this from the Catalan family farms, and it's green salsa. And the box,
Wow.
There's a box here.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Margarita Castro, me encuentro en Las Lomas y planto fresa y verdura. Pertenezco a la coalición Pequeños Agricultores y Sí me presenté. Disculpe por los nervios porque no estoy acostumbrada de hablar en público.
Okay.
Le digo nomás. Hablo un dialecto que se llama otomí. Y jamatiki que gazeki coalición para beca una coalición para tastea coalición para cozo y que eran de verduras o dambadas tombajara jardín. Gracias por ayudar el jardín comunitario que tenemos y por la beca. Si cualquiera puede ir a visitar el jardín cuando gusten y pues gracias a todos por la ayuda.
The Coalición de Pequeños Agricultores de California was a beneficiary of a grant from the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors through Sylvia Arenas' office, and we started a women's collective garden in Morgan Hill, and that's what she's thanking them for.
Thank you. And if you, si se quedan allí, voy yo a reunirme con ustedes. Oh my God, not that one. I do not know why Progressive Insurance is talking to me about anything. Oh, gosh. Here we go. Miren, lo que vamos a hacer es, tenemos una presentación que vamos a dar hoy y conmigo el presidente Otto Lee se va a reunir, pero vamos a platicar no nomás de los trabajadores agrícolas, pero también vamos a platicar un poquito sobre las mujeres y las familias que forman parte de ese movimiento. Si me dan una oportunidad, voy a pedirle al presidente si él quiere hablar primero y luego yo hablo después de él.
Sure, absolutely, be happy to. Well, first of all, good morning again. Today we are here gathering to recognize the week of March 25 to March 31st as the National Farm Worker Awareness Week, and March 31st also as a day to honor women and families of the farm workers movement. These are individuals whose courage, sacrifice, and leadership helped shape one of the most important labor and civil rights movements in our nation's history and in the world, actually. For generations, farm workers have carried the weight of feeding this country, often under harsh and unjust conditions. While many know the name Cesar Chavez for many years, we are really here today to uplift the truth that this movement was never the work of one person alone ever. It was built by organizers, by workers, by mothers and daughters, by fathers and sons, and by the entire families who stood together in the face of extraordinary hardship. Women and families have been the backbone of this movement. They organized boycotts, led negotiations, sustained households during strikes, cared for the children and elders, and built the relationships that made victories possible. Yet, too often, their contributions have been overlooked or left out of the dominant narrative. Leaders like Dolores Huerta and countless other unnamed women, caregivers and family members fought not only for labor rights and community health, but also navigated the realities of sexism, patriarchy, and economic hardship. Their resilience and leadership deserve to be fully recognized. And we just learned of the sacrifice and the decades of suffering that Dolores Huerta has gone through. And these are the stories that we really need to tell, and we need to believe when these stories are told to us. So at this time, I would like to invite the members, I think you're here, and families of Farm Workers Movement to join us right here. And anybody else in the audience that we left out? Okay. And as we reflect on this history, we must commit to telling a more complete and truthful story. one that honors both the achievements of the movement and the experiences of those whose labor has been overlooked or whose struggles have gone unacknowledged. And as stated in our final proclamation clause there that we have a couple proclamations, uplifting the women and families of the farm worker movement reflects the County of Santa Clara's shared commitment to equity, gender justice, family dignity, and recognition of those whose labor and leadership have shaped our region. I'll go and pass this back to my Vice President for your statement, and my colleagues are all here, obviously, supporting me.
I love that. Thank you so much. Nomás les quiero decir que vamos a hacer un poquito de plática sobre lo que estamos proclamando hoy es acerca de los trabajadores agrícolas, pero les estamos poniendo un enfoque en las mujeres, ¿verdad? Porque lo que ha sucedido en las noticias que hemos aprendido es una tragedia realmente, pero tenemos que seguir adelante con nuestro trabajo, ¿verdad? Me van a disculpar, voy a hablar inglés con este mensaje, disculpen. So today we're doing two things, and I was just sharing with the ladies here that we have, typically we have a National Farm Worker Awareness Week, which is something that I've been doing for a number of years. And so this is not something new. This is something that we've been carrying on. But what we did add that is new is the Women and Farm Worker Movement Day proclamation. And so that is something new. And the reason for that, as our president, Otto Lee, has already shared, is that there has been some tragic news that has been added to this movement, and unfortunately we have realized in the last week or so that somebody who has been symbolic to the movement, who is Cesar Chavez, has been accused of sexual abuse and assault. And here in Santa Clara County, we always believe survivors. And in that spirit, we wanted to make sure that we honored the women and the people at large who take part of the farm worker movement. As some of you may or may not know, but certainly the pandemic gave a lot of light to some of the difficulties of being a farm worker, because as we all stayed inside, farm workers were outside toiling from sun up to sundown. And this is something that is not new to a lot of immigrant families, but it was maybe new to some of the folks who learn to appreciate who brings them their salads and their fruits and vegetables to their homes and to their tables. And in the true spirit of feeding us, these women have done that once again today by gifting us a box of strawberries and vegetables. And it reminded me, and thank you so much for sharing your language, your dialect language that I hadn't heard before, but I had an opportunity to just really appreciate it. Su dialecto en otomí, el mensaje que nos regaló, se lo agradezco. And it reminded me of my own mother. And the reason that farm workers are so important to me is because my dad was a bracero. This is how he came to this country and how he was naturalized. But my mom would say, as she got to work in the fields, and two of my oldest siblings did too, how difficult it was to pick strawberries, because you have to reach really low to the ground, and it's backbreaking work. But that is what farm workers do each and every day for us, and we don't recognize it. We don't recognize it's easy for us to maybe throw out some of those strawberries when they're just not perfect, some of those that are imperfect, but we don't recognize that somebody toiled under the sun and gave their body to ensure that we had something on our table. And many folks have lost their lives and have been impacted by pesticides and just some of the lack of labor laws around farm workers. And this is why the farm worker movement was so important. There wasn't an organization that had done what the UFW, what the United Farm Workers established in the 60s, and that was led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. And both of them together established this level of awareness, but also fought back to ensure that there were labor standards that were respected. Now, the work isn't done, and Dolores Huerta has been very vocal about that. And as she's been interviewed recently regarding the sexual abuse, these are not allegations. This is her truth and her story, and that is that that she was sexually assaulted by Cesar Chavez. And what she asked all of us to do is to continue to support the farm worker movement, to support the farm workers that are continuing to toil in the sun from sun up and sun down, and to give light to those who've been martyred. And she named a few folks, and I'll say their names here. Some of them were Dino Contreras, Dan Freeman, Naji Dupala, Renee Lopez. These are people who have given their lives to the movement, who have died in that effort. And of course, we can't forget folks who helped establish the farm worker movement, those who belong to the Filipino-American labor movements, and that is Larry Itlong, Philip Cruz, and someone separate from the Filipino-American labor leader was Fred Ross. And all of them together, what they showed is that when you stand together, you create a kind of network and a kind of advocacy that can change the lives of the people ahead of us. They organized cooperatives, and for the very first time, the farm workers had access to a bank, and so they established a credit union for farm workers. They established medical clinics that they typically wouldn't have access for. But more importantly, what they did was they uplifted their neighbors, and they fought for the rights of future generations. Like myself, I'm a beneficiary of those protections and that advocacy and that fight, because my parents were part of the farm worker workforce, and they received protection because of others who came before them to actually set the stage. So I just wanted to finish up by saying how deeply I'm impacted by this recent news, and I wanted to be careful about separating a man who has been a symbolic leader to the farm workers, who is Cesar Chavez, from the farm worker movement, because it takes more than just one person. And this is what we have seen at the national level when there's power that is unchecked, when we don't call out the wrongs of those who are privileged. We allow them to stay in power. And instead, what we need to do is take our place in the sun, from sun up and sun down, and share your voice and share your story. And this is what I encourage all of us to continue to do, that I admire Shirley Trevino for doing that for all of us, for admiring all the women who are standing next to me, for what you do every single day to help me and my children and your children grow into to strong leaders for the future. I'll end by saying that there is no coincidences in life, and the fact that Dolores is part of that movement is just, for me, life-saving, because she represents what I think is not seen every day, and that is the women behind the men. And now we are not behind the men anymore. We stand front and center. And there's a deep gratitude on my part and respect for all of you and for what you do every single day. And for the women who came before us, who have set the stage for us. Dolor means pain in Spanish. And I'm seeing one out there in the audience as well. But dolores is plural, and it means a great deal of pain. We suffer with some of the violations that have happened against farm workers, but it's also that pain that allows us to continue to uphold what we think is right for farm workers and what we will continue to do for farm workers, and let this tragedy also be part of a renovation and inspire us to continue to move on. And so with that, I would like to provide a proclamation to Shirley and to those folks who are, all the ladies who are standing with me, who are part of the garden in Morgan Hill. If you haven't come, please come and visit us. It is a small garden, and it's a woman-owned property. It's a woman operated garden, and it has flowers, and it has all kinds of wonderful things that I think you will be surprised to see. But behind me is our president, who I will ask if we can go ahead and give this proclamation. So Shirley, if you would stand right in the center, we'll give this proclamation to you.
Actually, we could give it to you, and why don't we turn around and get the picture
around.
together?
Sorry,
Everybody.
folks. Oh, and Adriana here from YWCA, thank you so much for being part of also supporting the women when there is sexual abuse and sexual assault. You're there for our women in our community, and I just want to thank you for being here and for being symbolic to that movement as well. Thank you.
We get some flowers.
It's a misdemeanor to not give water to your pets, your dogs, but it was not against the law not to have water out in the fields for farm workers. And when they didn't have bathrooms, the foreman, I had a worker come to my office and said, he told me to use the lettuce leaves to wipe myself. And many times, too, they worked with a short-handled hoe, and it wasn't until Caesar went to a friend of mine who was a lawyer and said, you've got to outlaw the short-handled hoe. He didn't know what it meant. So he went out in the fields with a short-handled hoe. He couldn't even last a half an hour his back. But thanks to Mo Jourdain, we have the tall hoe now. But these are some of the abuses that they can in the past, but a lot of them continue to this day. So when you eat a salad, when you eat your carrots and broccoli and you're cutting up your onions and your garlic, know that these women and others throughout the world are feeding you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Again, that was lovely. Let's give our farm workers and the family a big round of applause. Okay, now we move to the public comment session, which is the part where the public can address us boards on items not on this agenda. Anybody who would like to speak should do that by submitting a card to our clerk. We will call up to 30 names now, and the remainder will be called at the end of the agenda. In-person speakers will be called first, followed by the Zoom speakers, and no further requests to speak will be accepted under the continued public comment. And reminder for public on Zoom, as soon as the first speaker in chamber starts speaking, no more speakers will be taken. During the public comment period, in order to respect everyone's comments, we do not allow applause or boos. But to show your support, you can simply raise and shake your hands quietly. And thank you for your cooperation to keep our meeting moving orderly. Rhonda, how many speakers do we have so far?
I currently have 7 speakers in chambers and 5 on Zoom.
Okay, 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, we are closing out the queue at 7 speakers in person and 5 on Zoom.
Okay, we get, that's the case, 2 minutes each, please.
Thank you. We'll start with the in-person speakers. I will call all of your names who I have received speaker cards for, and you may speak in any order. We have April Haberstadt, Mark Trout, Carla Torres, Ryan Leary, Sean Allen, Ashlyn Behar, and Maria Ramos. Please come forward. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. In March of 2016, 10 years ago, the Board of Supervisors approved the formation of a National Heritage Area Task Force. It was initiated by Dave Cortese, who was a supervisor, and the program was created by the Department of Interior to form national heritage areas. The program was designed to provide incentive money for destination tourism. The task force that we had here in Santa Clara County was co-chaired by 2 supervisors who were both very passionate about history, and that's Rod Dirodon and Dan McCorkadale. And they brought together the 50 museums and heritage groups in the county to develop a program for the county of heritage. We wrote a very successful grant and received wide community support, and we unfortunately had very bad timing because Donald Trump had just been elected to president. The Department of Interior lost the funding, and many experienced staff members left the agency. So now we have another milestone to celebrate. Our 250th anniversary is coming up. We created a theme for our heritage, and it's called Valley of Vision. So I am here today to consider to have the supervisors consider creating a county-wide project to celebrate this heritage. We are a visionary community that deserves to have its heritage celebrated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I will say those farm workers work their butt off. There's only been 3 jobs that I've quit, and I quit that job before 8 hours was up, and I was young, man. It's hard work. And then I had a leaf blowing job in Florida, and I started asking the guys, and you breathe in the carbon monoxide all the way. And says, how long you been working here? Oh, 3 weeks. Yeah, when do they pay? Every week. Well, he keeps saying next week we're going to get paid. I quit that job. And then a carpet cleaning company here in San Jose, the same thing happens, you know. But man, anyway, for what it's worth, I agree with you on Iran. You know, what are we doing with the Constitution is a thing like it's in the past, where Congress has the power to, you know, declare war. That's what it says. But anyway, I was going to talk about how there's no nuclear bombs. That's a big one. But if you really do your own research, we don't have the nuclear bomb. China doesn't have the nuclear bomb. Everyone's lying about this nuclear bomb. What we saw, that mushroom cloud, anyway, my time's running out. I want to talk about an inconvenient study, but I pressed the wrong button. And, you know, it's very powerful documentary. And it starts off with this poor kid, you know, Colby, gets the HPV Gardasil vaccine. Gosh. And then he's totally paralyzed, and then he commits suicide because he feels bad for his mom. We need to do something about this. All vaccines are bad. Kennedy mentioned they've never done any double-blind placebo studies, and they're saying they're safe and effective, and basically they're mandating these things, and they got to do a double-blind placebo study. And there was this guy, Marcos Zervos, that Del Bigtree, he was a big top dog in Henry Ford Health, right? And he agreed to do a study. Man.
Hello, my name is Carla Torres, and I've worked for the county for 25 years in the Department of Family and Children's Services. For the past year, I've experienced a hostile work environment that includes retaliation, intimidation, sexual and physical harassment caused by the Director of Central Services, Steve Fondacaro, who is ironically tasked for safety and security. I've documented 6 separate incidents. 4 of these incidents occurred at affinity group-led events. I've reported every incident to my supervisor, to the leadership, administration, to the Equal Opportunity Office and Whistleblower Program. I have yet to receive any updates. These incidents have taken a toll on me, impacting my emotional and physical well-being. No employee should be subjected to this hostility, especially not in Santa Clara County. I understand the board does not handle personnel matters, but you do oversee policy and systems. We have a county policy on maintaining a harmonious work environment and declared racism a public health crisis, but without accountability, these mean nothing. The EO complaint process is deeply flawed. Complaints go directly to department heads, directors, even when the complaint is about them. EO declined to take 5 of my 6 complaints and told me to go to the whistleblower program instead. These create barriers to justice for staff and leaves us unprotected. I'm asking the board to address the following: immediate investigation into the Director of Central Services with appropriate accountability, a board-directed review of the EO whistleblower program, an effort to inform collaboration with labor partners to inform staff and community of the complaint process, and a neutral third-party entity to investigate complaints. Lastly, I'm proud of the supermajority board of women and the ally as president, but I ask you to please listen and do something. Supervisor Ellenberg said we continue to normalize harassment and assault in the workplace, and that's unacceptable. We can no longer tolerate any forms of violence or harassment against women or anyone, especially for those in positions of power.
Good morning. My name is Sean Allen. I'm the president of the San Jose Silicon Valley NACP. I'm here in part because Carla Torres is being retaliated against. I actually heard one of the comments that Steve Fondacaro made to her. He literally said that he was targeting her because she filed complaints. So part of my concern here today is that we're talking about a man who also allegedly, a complaint was sent to us. He made a comment about black people, saying that the best time for black people was during the Jim Crow era. So your predecessors had this whole racism was an epidemic thing in 2020. I sat down with former Board of Supervisors Cindy Chavez and said that you guys don't track retaliation. James Williams came to the African American Center a couple years ago, said that there's racism in the county, which is his responsibility to address racism. Right? And I've sued this county for discrimination. I'm suing this county again. Multiple people sue this county who are black. You guys settle cases nice and quietly. So that pattern is clear. So how we have a government that admits there's racism, but you want to address the racism? It's right there, under their leadership. You people of color. Some of these people here are here today to talk to you about reparations, about racism in the past. But you're not dealing with the racism right now. I've made complaints as an organization to you. You guys don't even respond to it. This needs to be addressed now.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Leary. My business partner and I run a substance use disorder program in Anaheim, Medi-Cal based, as well as an outpatient program here in downtown San Jose, where I was born and raised. Santa Clara County is facing a critical gap in access to timely substance abuse treatment services, particularly among among justice-involved individuals. There are no active or upcoming requests for proposals, RFPs, for additional substance abuse treatment providers. We are hearing directly from pretrial services, probation departments, and the courts that the current system is overburdened. Individuals seeking substance abuse treatment are often placed on wait lists exceeding 30 days or simply told they are not receiving new intakes. When someone is ready to seek help, timing is critical. A delay of weeks can mean the difference between engagement and relapse. Would the board consider initiating an RFP to address the urgent and growing need? We are prepared to deliver immediate solutions to Santa Clara County. Our objective is to ensure that individuals seeking Medi-Cal substance abuse treatment are able to access appropriate care without unnecessary delay. I was supposed to leave these with the clerk, if that's
Yes,
possible.
you can leave it to the clerk for any statements. Thank you. The next speaker, please come up.
Hi, my name is Ashley Behar, and I am former foster youth and a current Hub member. I'm here to talk about an incident that happened at the Hub, a program that is operated by the Bill Wilson Center. One or two times a month, they have parenting events for youth, for young moms and their kids. At one of these events on 12/17/2025, towards the end of the event, everyone was almost gone. The Bill Wilson program manager, Juan Estrada, made a decision on his own and never asked me or the other three moms if it was okay to open the door so the kids could have more space, because those were his words. There were 3 toddlers in the room, and 2 of the children left through the front entrance doors that were left open, including my son and my friend Maria Ramos' son. Everything happened so quickly. They were playing, and suddenly Maria's son ran out of the building in front of a Bill Wilson staff, Crystal Arroyo, who did nothing to prevent them from leaving the building. I told Maria her son got out, and I ran to find my son. And once I realized he was also outside, I ran through the entrance yelling, "The kids are outside." The staff who saw both toddlers walk out was just standing there talking. And when I yelled, "Move, the kids are outside," Crystal didn't move and didn't try to help. Thankfully, Maria Ramos and I caught up to our sons, who almost lost their lives that day because of staff being neglectful, and no one is doing nothing about it. We already had a meeting with Bill Wilson program manager Juan Estrada, his supervisor Laura Foster, and Bill Wilson CFO Daniel Gutierrez, and nothing was done. That's why I'm here now. This is unacceptable because we are talking about the lives of 2 toddlers who could have been run over in that busy street, and it seems like no one cares. There needs to be changes to the Hub. It is not safe, and it is not meeting the needs for foster youth and our children.
Hi, my name is Maria Ramos. I am a former foster youth. There was an incident on December 17th. The Hub Community Center from Foster Youth, located at 1510 Parkmore Avenue, San Jose, California, had an event for moms where 2 kids could have lost their lives. My friend had let me know that the kids had run out, so I went after my friend, and I just saw my son's ponytail flying up. They could have crossed the street. They were not paying attention. This is called a safe facility, so why are the doors open? I have brought this issue to Daniel and Lori, and they still haven't done nothing about it. Staff does keep leaving the door open. Crystal Arroyo saw the kids run out. She didn't do nothing about it. She didn't do nothing to let us know that the kids were running out. She is the staff that does work there. Juan Carlos did not let us know that there was that they were going to open the doors for the kids to go out. We spoke to Lori Foster and Daniel Gutierrez, which are like the main people up there, and they haven't done nothing about the issue. They still leave the doors open. There's a lot of things going on there, and 2 kids could have lost their lives that day, and they're not taking it seriously, which this is a serious situation because 2 kids could have lost their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our online speakers. Our first speaker is Perrin. I've asked you to unmute.
Yes, hello, good morning to you all. DA Jeff Rosen is doing terrible things to our community. He's doing favors for his political supporters. My children are being sexually molested. And my former attorney, who is his political supporter, she wants the sexual abuse to continue. So what Jeff Rosen did was he filed charges against me when I did commit a crime in an attempt to discredit my claims that my kids are being sexually molested. And what this did was it created incentive for this attorney to assault me, to send people to assault me, to hack me, to stalk me. And I mean, I've suffered great bodily harm because of all this. And now the violence has become hands-on, where somebody tried to strangle me. And then a few days later, somebody pushed me up against the wall, hurt my hand, and chased me with a knife and told me that they were going to kill me. And now another person, this same person with the knife has been threatening me with a taser. I mean, it's just insane what our district attorney is doing, what he's incentivizing. He's supposed to be a law and order person. All he's doing is he's creating lawlessness in our community through corruption. I mean, he's just not a good person. And I posted a lot of this information online if you want to see it. I know it's hard to believe that a district attorney would behave like this. If you Google District Attorney Jeff Rosen petition sex trafficking, all those terms together, you'll see in the top 5 results what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michael Cox.
Thank you, Honorable Supervisors, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Michael Cox. I'm a homeowner in New Almaden, and I'm just speaking for myself. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address this honorable board. I just wanted to encourage the work that you're doing, voice my support for work to ensure adequate preparation and resources and communications in particular for the new risk we face of the Palisades type of fire. We know that over the last 150 years, both vegetation and population, and particularly dense building, have increased exponentially in California, and we have a new risk that's going to require new tools, new processes. That risk is the combination of both the old-style wildland fire, for which we have adequate resources and training, and the new risk of these fires getting into densely populated urban areas and creating structure-to-structure firestorms. And so I think this year is an El Nino year. It's not looking good at this point for the fire season. And I just want to encourage you in your position as executives to make sure that the resources are working together, are going to communicate effectively, and we have the proper resources in place to deal with the risks, particularly in the very high-risk areas where you have urban and dense undergrowth wildland interfaces. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lydia Zendejas.
My name is Lydia Iexoa-Zambejas. I come to you as a member of the community concerned about the injustices that have been occurring within the Department of Family and Children's Services. As elected officials, you have a responsibility to serve the community, and you also have a responsibility to ensure that governmental employees and the policies that are intended to protect these employees make sense, are fair, and foster a positive work environment. When an employee encounters a hostile work environment and follows the proper protocols, they should receive an unbiased review process. No employee should need to file a police report or a civil restraining order, but this is what has occurred. I implore the Board of Supervisors to take immediate action in improving policy regarding hostile work environments, and that it also include accountability when the policy is violated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tamara Alvarado.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Tamara Mosawani Alvarado. I'm founder and director of Kalpuli Oselosiwat Aztec Dance, and I am a District 2 county resident. I'm calling in support of all commentary, requests, and demands that Carla Torres has stated earlier. I'm asking for the board to take action and stand up and against the type of bullying behavior that she has experienced. I think especially in this moment of community pain, please do everything possible to protect Carla and women like her. She is a significant contributor to our county and to our community and should not be a victim of harmful behavior by Steve Fondacaro or anyone else in her workplace. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Aram James.
Good morning. I'm a former county employee. I was a public defender for 25 years. I'm here to support Carla Torres, who has had the good fortune to work with as a volunteer with the NAACP. She is an amazing community asset. And to think for a minute that she's being subjected to a hostile work environment, having to file multiple police reports and to call out to the Board of Supervisors to make certain that if these allegations are true, and I have no reason to doubt Carla, she's an extraordinarily credible individual. It's International Women's Month in March. Women need to be listened to, they need to be heard. Carla's 25 years of hard work for the county. I'm asking you to fully investigate this matter, make certain that the systemic racism in our county, that we put a stop to it now, right now. And let me just say that if we're going to have a discussion about reparations, we need to start with ending racism of all forms and all types and give Carla Torres the support that she deserves. We need to look into these allegations. We need to look at them now. We need to put an end to this kind of behavior in our county. Thank you very much.
And that concludes our public speakers on item number 6.
Thank you, Rhonda. Then we move on to item number 7, which is the approval of the consent calendar and changes to the Board of Supervisors agenda today. Rhonda, would you please read the consent calendar and its update, please?
I'd be happy to. Request from Supervisor Ellenberg to hold item number 14 to April 14th, 2026. Item number 14 is to receive a report relating to child care facility grants and actions taken to increase access to child care facilities. There's a request from administration to hold item number 47 to date uncertain. Item number 47 is to consider recommendations relating to agreements for asphalt and emulsion materials. There's a request from Supervisor Jung to delete item number 59L. Item number 59L is to adopt commendation for Happy Hollow Foundation on the occasion of the most iconic figure of Happy Hollow Park and Zoo, Danny the Dragon, celebrating his 65th birthday. And this concludes the consent calendar update.
Thank you. Supervisor Young, you have any further changes to this?
No additional changes, but I do have some comments on the consent calendar items. And then I'm happy to make a motion to approve consent as is. On item 21, just wanted to give a shout out to our team and our staff here during the past. This is a resolution in support of Regional Medical Center Level 2 Trauma Center. During the past 11 months, there was a total of 75,669 emergency department visits recorded at our regional medical center. For several months, regional's ER volumes exceeded those at Valley Medical Center. Lives were literally saved because patients were able to be treated in their own neighborhood communities rather than driving across town to another health facility. It gives me great pride to approve this resolution today and to call out this accomplishment. On items 22 through 26, I'm just a note for our staff. I'm hoping that the next time these items come to the board that we have more than a week before the contracts expire. There is not much of a choice on these items as they are necessary to ensure patient safety, which is always first and foremost. And I'd like to just request that in the future we are given ample time and consideration if an RFP is needed for any of these contracts. On item 40, it also appears we're being asked to approve this item on the day that the NDA expires with the vendor. So I hope my ask is clear that these items get to us well in advance. These are my comments. I'm happy to once again make a motion to approve the consent calendar and the changes to the Board of Supervisors agenda.
Yes, moved.
I'm happy to second, but I'd like to register a no vote on item 75. Thank you.
No on item 75. Okay, Vice President Renes, any changes to the consent agenda?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you share with us what item 75 is?
This is the use of military equipment.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Okay, all right, no further changes. We have a motion. Of course, we still have to take public comments first. I just do have a couple of comments I'm going to make right now on item 21 and 50. 21 is adopting the resolutions in support of RMC. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It was the right investment for our community at the right time. And I certainly want to commend everybody involved in the purchase and integration of RMC. With a 97% staff retention, it really speaks volumes about the dedication to service and shows people want to be part of our county's health and hospital systems. I want to say thank you to the hospital administrators working behind the scenes to support both our patients and providers. This hospital has gone from deep financial distress to stability 3 years ahead of schedule. And we are certainly extremely pleased that this hospital's deficits have been eliminated and that we have now restored this vital life-saving resource for our East Side communities and Milpitas as well. And so, and you know, it's really important that we highlight these wonderful outcomes because they help dispel concerns about financial investment of our county and show that this decision is delivering real, responsible, and life-saving results for our community. On item 50 is regarding the HRC, Human Rights Commission, relating to support for reparations of the African Americans in Santa Clara County. I want to thank the members of the community who came to the meeting or tuned in to provide these comments. I also want to thank our Human Rights Commission and Reparations Ad Hoc Committee for the diligent work of putting these recommendations together. As I shared earlier in my speech of the state of the county, our county clerk reporter staff has partnered with universities like Stanford and Princeton to use AI to uncover racially restrictive covenants embedded in our own county's property deeds. This effort is more than a technical undertaking, as it is a timely act of historical reckoning and repair. And of course, much, much more is needed to fully reckon with these current injustices and the history of discrimination that we are still facing in our county. So I look forward to receiving the report from that and after they have reviewed it. We have a motion, we have a second. Let's open the public hearing. How many people do I want to speak?
I currently have 11 speakers in chambers and 2 speakers on Zoom.
Okay, let's do 1 minute each.
All right, we are now closing the consent calendar update queue. with 11 in chambers and 2 on Zoom. I'll start calling up the people in chambers. You may speak in any order. Please also state the agenda item number that you are speaking on. Chris Libera, Monique Huckabee, Kay Garabriewicz, and I'm sorry for murdering your name, Susan Hayes, and Ray Ray. Please come forward.
Good morning, all. Chris Libera, speaking on the consent of 64 and 65. We strongly believe in supporting promotional opportunities and career growth for every employee. When people come to work, they're not just looking for a job, they're looking for its future. By creating clear pathways for advancement, we give our workforce something to work towards, something to stay motivated for, something to be proud of. Investing in our employees' growth builds stronger skills, boosts morale, and increases retention. When workers see their hard work can lead to next step up, they're more engaged, the more committed, and the more likely to contribute at a higher level. Career growth isn't just good for the individual, it strengthens the entire organization. We develop leaders from within, persevere institutional knowledge, and create a culture where people feel valued and supported. At the end of the day, when we invest in our people, they invest back into the work, and that's how everyone succeeds. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Monique Huckabee. I'm a SEIU steward and an FAF employee, and I'm here to speak about 64 and 65. Since April of 2025, we've been asking for a training program, a career path so employees can succeed in the county. We've been asking for a career path that gives the employees the ability to develop their skills and purpose with a planning purpose, and training that strengthens the workforce for the employees to properly prepare their jobs. Right now, that's not happening. We have station engineers not receiving proper direction, support, or training. Last year, we asked for training supplies at our meeting, and Jeff Draper said, no, I'm not providing that, find it yourself, and that speaks loudly that there's no clear plan for these engineers. There's no pathway for our people to move. We are interested in continuing our meeting, confer, and promotional opportunities. We thank you for your time.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Kabrab Gary-Hewitt, and I'm here representing SEIU 521, speaking on consent items 64 and 65. Last week, our team officially submitted our proposal, which outlines our vision for the future of our workforce. A central priority for us is the expansion of the promotional opportunities and career growth. We believe that when our employees have clear pathways to advance, our entire organization becomes stronger and more effective. During our meeting last week, SEIU requested additional time to thoroughly finish the meet and confer process with FAF department. We are committed to a productive dialogue, but we need the extra window to ensure every detail is addressed correctly. We are here today to formally ask the board for your support in granting this time. By allowing us to finalize these discussions with FAF management team, we can reach an agreement that truly supports our staff, the vital work we do. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to our growth.
My name is Susan Hayase. I'm speaking on item 50. I'm with San Jose Nikkei Resistors. When I was 23 years old, I participated in a pilgrimage to the site of the Tule Lake concentration camp, and we talked about the possibility of reparations for the World War II incarceration of Japanese Americans. That was it for me. I moved to Japantown, and I joined a group that helped found the National Coalition for Redress and Reparations. Our reparations victory in 1988 shows that reparations is possible. We also know that reparations for slavery is overdue by 161 years, and additionally, reparations are justly deserved. The legacy of slavery, which is ongoing, includes decades of segregation, discrimination in employment, and education exclusion from government benefits, and it includes extreme racist violence and oppression by the criminal justice system. Possible, overdue, and deserved. I support the Commission on Reparations. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and call forward the remaining in-chamber speakers. Kathy Higuchi, Sammy, public member, Levere Foster, Anna Harris, Jeremiah Lynn something, sorry, and Julinda Liddy. Please go ahead.
My name is Raymond Goins. I'm here to speak about item 15, reparations. The county has said that they always believe survivors. We're African Americans that survived slavery, desegregation, the war on Black America, the war on drugs, and now, I'm gonna say modern day slavery. Reparations has been overdue. We survived everything so people can have and fight for what they believe in today. We ask the county to recognize the struggles of the Black American and give us reparations that we deserve. I'm saying in one of the wealthiest counties in this nation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Higuchi. I am also with San Jose Nikkei Resistors. I worked in the redress and reparations movement back in the 80s for Japanese Americans who were in concentration camps. Reparations was one, but we weren't done. I support reparations for African Americans in Santa Clara County. You have the right to do the right thing. Please vote to adopt this resolution.
Good morning. My name is LaVere Foster. I'm the Associate Director for the African American Community Service Agency and also served on the Reparations Ad Hoc Committee as well. I'm here because the time for reparations is now. For far too long, our community has been impacted by systemic injustices that our county has witnessed as well. And it's that time that we come together to provide some actionable movement that can help support our community so we're not leaving Santa Clara County, so we can make sure this is a home for future generations to come. So please support item 50, and we look forward to also working with you on how we can make this beneficial for our community throughout. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeremiah Leimerger, currently serve as Development Data Analyst at the African American Community Service Agency, and had the pleasure to serve on the ad hoc committee. First, I want to say thank you all for all your work. Being on the ad hoc committee and doing reparations work, the time is now. Understanding that learning from our seniors that come to the agency every Thursday and hearing from what they had to go through to what I see now as a Black doctoral student going to class and not seeing people that look like me, not seeing professionals that look like me. I think reparations is more than just money. I think it's a perfect time for the county to create a reparations task force for the county so we can do research and ensure that we create an equitable future for the next generations of Black youth, to ensure that Black youth has access and opportunities. And I just wanted to say thank you all for your work, and I hope that you guys consider it. Thank you.
My name is Ann Harris. I'm speaking on item 50. I'm just trying to understand, if this has been working ever since 1968, why are we here now? I drank out of the white water fountains. I'm coming up on 89. I'm 88 and a half. So my great-grandfather was a slave here. Now, I'm old now, and we're still just now talking about it. So why can't we just make it happen? We already know there's no need for any more surveys, investigations. None of that is necessary anymore. Everybody knows. I raised 9 children, and I'm still experiencing the effects of not even getting reparations. I'm still experiencing it. So why don't we just do the right thing? Cut out all the delays.
Hello, my name is Julinda. I represent the Human Rights Commission, and I'm also the chair for the Social Equity as well as the Reparations Committee. And I want to thank you for having us here today. I really appreciated Mrs. Sylvia Reynes's speech when she mentioned about the strawberries, children, women picking strawberries. Just imagine small children, pregnant women, and men who have been beaten picking cotton. Just imagine, cotton is a billion-dollar industry. This country has been built off of the backs of Black folks. I am asking you today to reverse some of these policies that has put Black folks at a disadvantage. We have suffered in housing, economic growth, not to mention our criminal justice system. Where is the justice for Black folks? I personally, as former foster, as a Black woman, I have struggled within the system. I'm asking you today to do the right thing for Black folks in Santa Clara County.
Okay, so I'm a community member. I used to volunteer at NAACP, and I've seen a lot. I worked out in industry, all the high-tech corporations as a temp worker, so I've seen a lot. We don't forget the young folks who were discriminated against at a local Denny's restaurant. We don't forget the police violence against a researcher at a high-tech company at the hands of police. We don't forget the Black engineers who were fired because they asked for a raise at an aerospace company, and a lot of other things, but I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. We're seeing a lot of orchestrated sabotage. We're talking about in the unions, in high tech, colleges. These are people that can, okay, thank you.
My name is Sammy, and I support this action for reparations because it is a matter of justice for African Americans in Santa Clara County, and it is long overdue. The African Americans in this community built the structural foundations that Silicon Valley was later built on top of. And then all the wealth generated here was used to price out and push out the Black community here. African Americans here cannot wait any longer, and Black people aren't just getting priced out, but we're experiencing higher rates of homelessness, joblessness, and policing due to these historical injustices. And by not passing reparations policies, this county is telling Black people that we don't deserve justice now and that we have to wait for it. We need our leaders right now to take a stand for the unsung builders and workers of this beautiful county, just like the women farm workers we honored earlier in this session. I've been energized on this issue by leaders like Ramsey Robinson, who's running for governor with the Peace and Freedom Party, and who talks openly about reparations. We need our Santa Clara County leaders to stand up for reparations too.
Good afternoon. I'm Pamela Lowe, and I would like to remind everyone not to think of this request for reparations as an act of, being kind. You want to do the right thing, and this is your opportunity to show the world, right, that you can stand up and do the right thing. More than anything, that normally is what moves the ball, is for people to doing the right thing. And on another topic, but yet sort of related, I'm the past director of vendor management for Santa Clara Family Health Plan, and I was forced out of my position this past December. I have shared communications with the office of James R. Williams, and I'm asking you, sir, if you could respond to my communications that were submitted in the month of December and also November of 2025, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. That concludes our in-person speakers. I'm now going to Zoom. Parent, I've asked you to unmute.
Yes, I'm speaking to item number 75. I don't think that Jeff Rosen should have military equipment. He's already incentivizing and giving a free pass to people to assault me, people to rape my children. I mean, he's lost his mind, this guy. I mean, like, the only person who was willing to help me was Daniel Chung. He knew exactly what was going on, and he indicated that he would help. And a couple weeks later, he was escorted out of the office by 3 armed men, and they put wanted posters in the DA's office. What is Jeff Rosen going to use this military equipment for? He's only going to use it to intimidate the community. He has no business having military equipment. He's not a good person. If he was a good person, maybe, but he's not. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And our final online speaker is Milan Valentin.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Honorable Board of Supervisors. I speak today in honor of the late Sheila Jackson Lee, who championed H.R. Bill 40, urging Congress, why not and why not now? Reparations is about repair. And when you repair the damage that has been done, you do so much more to move the entire society. So in our ask today is to support item 50 with an adoption, a resolution regarding the declaration of formal support for reparations for African Americans in Santa Clara County, to acknowledge the historical role that local and regional and national governments played in maintaining racially discriminatory practices and policies that cause lasting harm to African American community in San Jose and throughout the county, to establish or support a local reparations task force for the advisory body dedicated to examining models of reparative justice, uplifting impacted voices, and developing actionable recommendations.
Thank you, and that concludes our public speakers that requested to speak before we close the item.
Thank you, Rhonda. I've got a motion and I have a second. Let's go take the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Abicoga?
Aye.
Supervisor Jung?
Yes.
Vice President Arenas?
Yes.
President Lee?
Aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-0 with item number 75 registering a no vote from Supervisor Abicoga.
Okay, thank you. Now moving to item 8, which is the public hearing to purchase a real property at 21287 Almaden Road by the Parks Department. And first of all, I see our Parks Director. Good morning. Oops, let's try again.
Good morning.
Here we
Todd
go.
Lofgren, Santa Clara County Parks Director. Happy to answer any of your questions on this item.
Very good. I'll go and open the public hearing using a gavel. And any member of the public would like to speak on this item, Rhonda?
Yes, I do have one speaker in person and one speaker in Zoom.
Okay, let's do 2 minutes each.
Okay, we are now closing the speaker queue at 2 speakers. Our in-person speaker is Erica Murphy.
Good morning, members of the board. Because of the Parks Charter Fund, the Parks Department has an established history of spending funds to acquire property without fully justifying the purchase, addressing the long-term maintenance of the land, or in some cases, following through on providing public access. The parcel Parks is proposing to purchase is located in a high fire hazard severity zone as determined by CAL FIRE. The staff report states that the purpose of this acquisition is to establish a new trail connection, which by definition increases human activity in the area. When you combine a high fire risk location and increased human presence, and consider that more than 90% of fires are human caused, it seems inappropriate at best and negligent at worst that the park staff report and acquisition analysis do not meaningfully account for the wildfire risks these properties may pose to surrounding communities. In this case, Parks is advocating for the purchase of a very steep, high fire hazard rural residential lot that is immediately adjacent to homes on both sides and located within the New Almaden National Historic Landmark District, an area with its own unique wildfire risks. Parks should be taking these factors into account even when evaluating acquisitions. Moving forward with purchases like this without assessing wildfire risk and how that risk will be mitigated for nearby residents raises serious concerns. Given these risks, I ask the board to condition approval of the staff recommendation on 2 actions. First, that Parks provide a thorough analysis of wildfire risks their properties may pose to the surrounding community. And second, that parks present an annual fire prevention and fuel reduction plan to the community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And our online speaker is Michael Cox.
Hello, Honorable Supervisors and Director Lofgren. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. In general, I'm supportive of the parcel acquisition. It's a piece of land that's long been used as a critical wildlife corridor. I would like to ask that the use of the parcel be limited to foot trail only. It would be too steep and present a lot of safety risks for a bike or equestrian access, given that it sits right on the front of a busy road. I'm also curious about the parcel across the street, the property that's leased to the U.S. Postal Service. I'm not sure if that's closed or it's still in contract, but that's an interesting parcel because it would provide a contiguous wildlife corridor down to Alameda's Creek, and it would provide some income from the Postal Service rental. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
And this concludes our public speakers for this item.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Now that, any questions and comments from our board, or do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion seconded. So, Todd, I do have a question to follow up on one of the speakers regarding the fire risk issue. The couple of things that one speaker has talked about is trying to have a way to analyze the fire risk of this location, and two is having some type of a periodic plan to discuss the fire prevention and the fuel reduction issues. Could you address some of those concerns?
For sure. So safety is number one concern for us when we look at any new property, and so we evaluate the property during the acquisition process. In this case, we're asking the board also to approve additional funds so we can onboard this new piece of property to do fuel reduction and follow the appropriate CAL FIRE guidelines, make sure that we're doing the vegetation management. So that is part of our acquisition process. Specifically for the New Almaden community, the Parks Department is engaged in the West Santa Clara County Landscape Resiliency Project with CAL FIRE. And so we'll be working with them both to do fuel reduction projects, vegetation management, and make sure that the park really acts as a green belt and a setback. So if and when we may have catastrophic wildfire, CAL FIRE has access, as well as other departments that would be responding to any kind of wildfire threat. So in this case, the acquisition of this new parcel, the proposal is to look at it to have a trail, as was mentioned by one of the speakers. So this will provide an access point for fire response in this area.
Thank you, Todd. When do you think those preventive efforts you mentioned, fuel reduction and all that, when would they start, and when do you think, how long would it take to make
For
that
this
happen?
specific parcel, as soon as we take over the property, we will do that. And for the landscape resiliency project with CAL FIRE is in 2027. 2027, this next year.
Okay. Assuming this purchase get approved today, how long do you think it'll take to get started?
We normally have about 60 days following due diligence, and then 30 days for closing, so approximately in 90 days once we take control of the property. And then as soon as we have the property, we'll move forward on mitigating the site.
Well, as we're in the end of March now, so we're talking about maybe sometime June when all said and done. As we have seen recently, our temperature was in the 80s last week. So the fire season, they used to say there's a fire season, now it's almost year-round. We've been very fortunate this past winter. Things have been fairly good for us in terms of the wind, but I certainly could see that with the, the vegetation drying up in the next few months, this can get dry real fast. So I just hope to make that a higher priority to make sure that we could get this working sooner than later.
So we're active in the park doing mitigation work now. It's just we can't do any work on the parcel until we take ownership over it.
Right. No, I understand that's how it works, but I mean also with the seller too. Maybe we could discuss with seller, and if they don't object to it, maybe we could start earlier. Of
course.
So let's just ask that questions. I think that'll be good. And as you know, I've been a big proponent, and you've been supportive of those AI fire detectors being placed in various places. If this is one of those candidates that where this might be a good location for it, I certainly want to make sure we look into that as well.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion with second. Let's go take the vote.
Thank you. On motion of Vice President Arenas, seconded by Supervisor Abe-Koga. Supervisor Abe-Koga.
Aye.
Supervisor Young.
Yes.
Vice President Arenas.
Yes.
President Lee.
Aye as well.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 9, which is a referral related to generative AI implementation use policy from Supervisor Abe-Koga and co-sponsored by myself. And I'll ask Supervisor Abe-Koga to go first.
Thank you, President Lee, and thank you so much for your collaboration on this referral. I'm very pleased to bring this referral forward today because it's becoming increasingly clear that artificial intelligence is going to play a major role in how government operates, not 5 or 10 years from now, but right now. AI is already here, and it's already being used in parts of our organization. So what we need is a clear, thoughtful, people-centered, values-driven policy to guide that use. I want to be very clear at the outset. This referral is about process, not policy adoption. We're not setting an AI policy today. We're directing staff to come back to the board with a proposed policy that reflects a set of broad principles centered on public service, equity, transparency, and above all, the protection and empowerment of our workforce. This is the whole purpose of the referral, to create structure, accountability, and clarity in an area that is moving very quickly. We are in an incredibly tight budget cycle. Every department is being asked to do more with less, and our workforce is carrying a tremendous load to keep services going. That is why this work is important. AI, used thoughtfully and collaboratively, can help us become more efficient with the limited resources we have without sacrificing service quality or the well-being of our employees or the community. And let me emphasize what I've said from the start. AI should enhance our workforce, not replace it. It should help reduce backlogs, streamline repetitive administrative tasks, and allow our staff to focus on the parts of their jobs that require human judgment, empathy, and public-facing expertise. The priority of AI should be to make work easier, not eliminate positions or compromise the jobs of people who uphold our mission every single day. And if certain positions are no longer needed, we should have a clearly defined process for transitioning employees to other positions that I expect will be more human-centered and directly serving the public. To that goal, I also want to ensure that we have the proper training resources to sufficiently equip our employees with the knowledge and tools to utilize AI. I also want to express my deep appreciation to our labor partners, SCIU, the South Bay Labor Council, Working Partnerships USA, and SEMA, who all provided excellent feedback on this referral. Given the potential impacts on the workforce, it's important to me that we work hand in hand with labor. Your partnership is essential because any meaningful AI policy must start with trust, transparency, and shared purpose with the people who actually deliver services. I'd also like to thank the administration for the great work it's done to this point to guide the adoption of AI. The Generative AI Review Committee has been extremely thoughtful, and they're truly subject matter experts. I also want to touch briefly on one piece of labor feedback that didn't make it fully into the written referral, and that's the question of how we define AI and generative AI for the purposes of this policy. Labor raised an important point. Not all AI tools are generative AI, and some systems that use machine learning or automated decision support could still have real impacts on employees and constituents. They want these use cases considered, and I agree. The intent here is to regulate AI tools that meaningfully affect people, not to cast too wide a net and not to leave impactful tools unexamined. So I'll be adding language to the motion, asking staff to come back with options on how we define and scope these terms. But with that, this referral is about preparing the county for the reality we're already living in. AI will continue to evolve, and we need to get ahead of it, not react to it. So again, I want to reiterate, today is about starting the process, not establishing the policy. Staff will return with recommended language, guardrails, and structures for us to consider. I look forward to continuing this work with our partners, and I respectfully ask my colleagues for their support. And so I'd like to make the motion to move the approval of the staff report with a modification to Part B, which would be to define generative AI and rights impacting AI in the policy that will be brought back for board adoption. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll go and second that as well. As Supervisor Abikoga has said, AI is really here. It's not going away. And it's certainly not a question of whether we use it or how we use it. But the only thing I'll tell people is don't pronounce this A1. Somebody has, and then you can look it up in the video. While it offers real opportunities to improve services and efficiency, it also raises serious concerns about privacy, bias, security, and workforce impacts. This referral is about getting ahead of that. It helps ensure that we have a comprehensive, county-wide approach grounded in transparency, equity, strong data governance, and human oversight so we can harness the benefits of AI while managing real risks as it presents. We want to ensure that consistency across our departments and adopt AI in a way that is accountable and aligned with our values across our county. And it also aligns with the guidance from NACO, the National Association of Counties, a meeting which I actually attended 2 weeks ago, which emphasizes putting governance, risk management, data management, and workforce consideration in place before scaling AI. At its core, this is about learning to use AI responsibly, so it strengthens public service, supporting our workforce, and maintain the public trust while maintaining the privacy as well. So I'm supporting this, and I would like to certainly be a second and want to see if there's any other comments from my colleagues before I open the public hearing. Okay, all right, let's see, we'll open up to the public. How many people would like to speak on this item?
I currently have 11 people in chambers and 3 online. Four online. Last call for Zoom speakers to raise your hand. All right, it looks like we're holding at 15.
Oh, 15. Let's do 1 minute each, please.
All right, we are now closing the public speaker queue. I'll call forward several people from in chambers, and you may speak in any order. Kabir K. Gabruet, Ray Shokan, Carlos Fuentes, Harris Thomas, Joan Paula Conley, and Zeb Feldman. Please come forward.
Good morning, board members and county administrators. My name is Kabrab Geberhewitt, and I'm the chief steward of my union, SEIU Local 521. I'm also a janitor with Santa Clara County. We want to do whatever we can to most effectively deliver critical services to the county residents. AI systems and other new technologies can potentially help with that, but they are also expensive and time-consuming and must be designed and implemented responsibly. If the people who actually do the work these systems are meant to augment are left out of planning and decision-making, the county will waste time and money. Leaving us out of conversation is illogical. In my work as a janitor, I encourage you to use the resources you have, your employees, to thoughtfully secure a better future for all of us. Thank you.
Good morning, board members and county administrators. My name is Carlos Fuentes, and I am a TSS Chief Union Steward with SEIU 521. I'm also a network engineer with Santa Clara County. Today, I'm joined by my union siblings to call on county to develop an AI policy that puts workers at the center of the design and implementation of this technology, not only to protect the quality of the jobs, but also to protect the community we serve. We've already seen what happens when new technology is adopted without clear governance and workforce planning. With cloud adoptions, roles became blurred, responsibilities were crossed, and opportunities for county workers were lost. We cannot afford to repeat that with AI. As the referral states, technology should augment our work, not replace it. As the people who do this work every day, we are best positioned to ensure these systems are effective, accurate, and truly beneficial to residents. In my work, I've seen how quickly roles and responsibilities can shift without clear direction. Without workers' involvement, we risk job loss, outsourcing, and even serious. Thank you.
Good morning, board members and county administrators. My name is Harris Thomas, and I am steward of my union, SEIU Local 521. I'm also a network engineer with Santa Clara County for 11 years. Thank you for the board for putting forth this referral. I want to highlight the importance of human in the loop concept of this policy. There are many high-risk areas where AI technology may be introduced, and to protect our communities, those systems must never operate without complete autonomy, but should always maintain a human in the loop and to make final decisions. In my work as a network engineer, it's very important we continue to use the human element. For AI to function, a core network has to be built, maintained, and supervised by humans. I encourage you to use the resource you have, your employees, to thoughtfully secure a better future for all of us. Thank you.
Good morning, board members. My name is Rachel Khan. I'm a county employee on an SEIU 521 steward. As our county explores the integration of AI, we must ensure these systems include strong cybersecurity protections for data collections, use, and retention. Both county employees and residents deserve to know exactly who has access to their sensitive data and how it is being stored. Furthermore, we should always disclose clearly and publicly when AI is used for any output or decision-making process. In my work as a network engineer with the County of Santa Clara for 10 years, I manage the infrastructure that moves our sensitive data every day. If we integrate AI into our network traffic and monitoring without strict protocols, we risk creating backdoors where data can be intercepted or exploited. We must ensure every AI tool is secure and transparent as physical hardware we manage manually. As the people who build and maintain these systems, we see the risks and the potential firsthand. Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors, administrators. My name is Raul Paulo. I'm here with Working Partnerships. And I want to say that there's nothing about the future and direction of AI tech that is predestined. There is a possible future for AI that benefits workers, where everyone shares in the productivity gains and we all prosper together. And there's a scary future for AI where workers are disempowered, where you show up to work one day and find out that an AI system put you on a PIP or decided to fire you or decided to discipline you in some way, and you have no recourse because there's no human in the loop. That's a scary future, and that's the future that we have to prevent right now. And so I commend this county for really considering this as an opportunity to step forward and do something before it's too late. And we all have the power to impact the future of this technology together. And so there can be no decisions about the future of AI that do not bring workers to the table. The workers who will be impacted by this technology have to shape the direction that this technology goes in. Thank you for considering this. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and call forward the rest of the in-person speakers. Rex McElrath, Philip Decker, Dolores Morales, Jack McGovern, and Lucilla Ortiz.
Good morning. Zeb Feldman with SEMA OE3. SEMA is supportive of Supervisor Abakoga's referral, and you as leaders have a chance to smooth the roughest edges of AI while setting sensible rules of the road for privacy, human review, and decisions AI is simply unsuited to make, like hiring, firing, and worker surveillance. AI adoption is a time of duality: efficiency with a cold lack of humanity, economic growth with job destruction, incredible data insights with unprecedented fears of data leaks. SEMA asks that you include a roadmap of AI rollouts in the county over the next year. Also, don't make departments beg for exceptions to use AI. Be proactive and identify areas like programming where AI is a force multiplier. Behind me, more SEMA will share other supportive points about this referral, and SEMA looks forward to bargaining both generative and agentic AI in our next contract. Thank you for your kind attention.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Rex McGrath. I'm here as a Senior Solution Architect from TSS. I'm speaking about item 128020 from Supervisor Abekoga. Fear should not stop us from taking advantage of opportunities. One of the main fears that I have heard relating to AI is leakage of data. That is a valid and real concern, but AI is only math and data at its core, and we can safely use that. When we do banking, we don't feel safe using a public shared computer, but we do feel safe when we use our own private computer. We can safely use AI systems that we control. In a budget crisis, some say we have to do more with less. But if nothing changes, this is a platitude, and services will suffer. However, we have an opportunity with AI. We can automate menial tasks. We can provide more personalized services. We can better serve the communities that are our constituents. I urge you to support and approve Board Referral 128020. Thank you.
Good morning. Philip Decker, TSS IT Manager, and a proud CMA member to speak in support of AI-related referral from Supervisor Abekoga, which I am very happy to see. SEMA supports Board Referral 128020 and requests the following amendments be considered. Number 1, the referral is too narrow with generative AI and should include all forms of AI. It would be wise for the county to ensure we have the framework in place to accommodate newer forms of AI and related physical manifestations, including agentic, AI-powered robots, and humanoids. This referral should be amended to include a report back on county classification and jobs that will be destroyed by AI. It should also include development plans to get county employees educated and proficient with AI and other skills, and include possible outcomes for the county employees that could be negatively impacted. And then 3, this referral should also request to identify any new AI-related jobs, like AI ethicist or prompt engineer, that may be created because of the county's AI transformation. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors, Honorable Supervisors. Dolores Morales, SEMA President. Artificial intelligence is here. What is not tracked is not managed. As we face workforce and budgetary challenges, we must embrace tools that make us more effective and efficient while safeguarding our community and our shared humanity. In recent years, we've witnessed the expansion of AI in critical areas: insurance decisions, retail profiling, price adjustments, and workplace productivity, systems that monitor, discipline, and even terminate employees. The state is now considering legislation to establish human safeguards around these technologies. As we move forward, labor must be recognized as a partner in this transition. Our expertise and perspectives are essential to ensure that innovation enhances, not erodes, fairness and dignity at work. Thank you, Supervisor Abekoga and President Lee, for a thoughtful, inclusionary referral. Thank you, Board, for supporting this referral.
Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Supervisors. My name is Jack McGovern. I'm the Political Director of the South Bay Labor Council. I'm here in support of Agenda Item 9. As the county considers generative AI, it is critical that any policy includes strong protections against bias and discrimination, clear limits on surveillance of workers, and meaningful human review of all important decisions. AI should never be used to make recommendations on hiring, firing, discipline, budgeting, or benefits. County workers and their unions must be part of the design and implementation of these systems from the beginning. This technology should and can help workers serve the public better, not replace workers or undermine public trust. I urge your support, and I really want to thank Supervisor Abekoga and President Lee for putting this critical referral forward. I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Lucila Ortiz, and I'm here with Silicon Valley Rising. First of all, I also want to thank the leadership of Supervisor Abekoga and President Lee for bringing this forward in here. Over the last couple of months, we have been working with community and labor allies, to think about the real impacts that AI is having on our communities. Look, there's a lot of positives that come with that. I personally love my cat dancing videos that come in my feed, every once in a while. But we must not ignore the real impacts that this can also bring in our communities, especially when we're talking about how AI is being used in the workforce. And so we look forward to being a part of the process to develop a thoughtful policy, that kind of can think in the future about what's to come and can put really strong guardrails in place to protect both the employees and our community members as a part of that. And so we want to make sure that, AI is not making any final decisions in that, and that none of our communities feel like they're being surveilled while at the workplace or in the community. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to our Zoom speakers. Our first speaker is Parent.
Yes, I'm in support of AI. I think AI can be very useful. Let me give you an example. My kids are being sexually molested. My son even reported that my ex-wife was letting a man rape him beginning at the age of 13. There'd been unnecessary bathing with the children and also sexual contact between two of the children. I asked AI, should a screening occur after these 3 things occur? And AI said yes. And I told the District Attorney Jeff Rosen, I told him all about the sexual abuse, more details than I'm telling you, hoping that he'd provide a referral to the Child Advocacy Center so they could get a screening. But all he did was file charges against me because all he cared about was my former attorney and what she thought and what she wanted and how she profited off the sexual abuse of my kids. And he's also incentivizing assaults against me with these criminal proceedings that have occurred in the last 6 years. So please, use AI. Help my kids get a screening. Please, if somebody here can get my kids a screening, please help me.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rebecca Armendariz.
Good morning, board members. We'd like to ask that this board accept the referral from President Lee and board member Abe Koga to ensure that the responsible use of AI is across all county programs and departments. We stress that this and any future policies should apply to any rights impacting technology, that being any technology that could serve as a basis for decision or judgments concerning a specific individual, and that any processes including AI should never supplant the established labor practices that include union representatives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jeria Jaug. Jeria, we've asked you to unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Jiraiya. I'm a lifelong resident of District 3. And I first want to say thank you so much to Supervisor Abe Koga and Board President Lee for their leadership in creating the first step to be able to ensure that AI supports people and not replaces them. AI is exciting but also scary for workers and people who fear their jobs would be replaced and not supported. This policy should broadly cover generative AI's tools, and this is really the first step to ensure that workers are at the table and AI will support them and not replace them. I urge you all to support the policy being put forward and to ensure that strong support guardrails are placed on AI in the future, since AI is here and probably here to stay. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And our final speaker is Neil Martin.
Good morning. Neil Martin, Tech Justice Coordinator at Working Partnerships USA. Speaking in support of this referral, I commend the action of Supervisors Abe Koga and Otto Lee on this important issue. Polls show that Americans overwhelmingly support AI regulation, but this industry is marketing often untested products to our governments every day with almost no guardrails in place at the state and federal levels. So public sector workers and community members are what stand between the public and bad technology and artificial intelligence. So they're a line of defense to prevent harms and make sure new technology is delivering for the people. And I also want to say that workers are not opposed to technology and recognize its huge potential if used responsibly to improve jobs and services. But it's becoming increasingly clear that these algorithms must be rigorously tested and monitored. Thank you.
And this concludes our public speakers for this item.
Thank you. We've got a motion with second. If I don't get any more comments, we could vote. Yes? Okay. Rhonda, go ahead. Call the roll.
Thank you. On motion of Supervisor Abekoga, seconded by President Lee. Supervisor Abekoga.
Aye.
Supervisor Jung.
Yes.
Vice President Arenas.
Yes.
President Lee.
Aye as well.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Now moving to the next item, which is our county executive's report. James, all yours.
Good morning, members of the board. Just a couple items. We do have later on today's agenda the monthly report from Intergovernmental Relations, but I wanted to highlight two recent efforts regarding our advocacy at the state level related to funding for public hospitals and in response to the catastrophic and devastating cuts from H.R. 1. First, on Friday, led by Supervisor Jung and Supervisor Ellenberg at FGOC, there was a special meeting with excellent turnout from the public, incredible and powerful public comments that included members of our local delegation focused on the state's role in responding to this healthcare crisis being foisted on Californians. We really brought a lot of critical stakeholders together, and I just wanted to acknowledge that forum and look forward to the engagement by those members of our community who are so passionate about this in their fierce advocacy in Sacramento. The day before that meeting, I was actually myself in Sacramento on last Thursday, testifying at a special Senate hearing, all-day hearing on H.R. 1 impacts as part of a number of expert panels focused on the impacts to Medi-Cal and enrollment and eligibility. There was a panel that was focused on what can and cannot be accomplished through potential automation, as well as focus on public health care systems and the county indigent care programs and the fact that the state has withdrawn billions of dollars in funding from counties in the post-Affordable Care Act environment that will need to be revisited as a result of the likely significant increase in uninsured. I think these were productive conversations. We are in strong agreement, for example, with reports from the LAO on the impact of the indigent care program and the cuts to county resources that happened in the wake of the Affordable Care Act, as well as a number of asks that have kind of coalesced around the framing that we've put forward related to the three categories of keeping people enrolled on Medi-Cal, providing critical support to public hospital systems, and ensuring adequate funding for indigent care. CSAC has now come out with a very similar framework and support. The Urban Counties Caucus has as well, along with a number of other critical partners. So that work is moving forward. You'll hear more about that later on the agenda, but I just wanted to highlight those two specific pieces that occurred recently. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, James. See no questions. Go ahead, Tony.
There are no reportable actions taken at the March 23rd, 2026 closed session meeting, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Then the next item we have is our Valley Homeless Health Care Program, item 12. Good morning.
Good morning, President Lee, members of the board, Celine Ho, Interim Director for Primary Care Operations. I also have here with me Christy Rouse, our Assistant Nurse Manager. In your board packet, we have our quarterly update on our quality improvement metrics, and we're also requesting your approval on the 2026 sliding fee discount program and fee schedule. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Young.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this quarterly report. And I want to thank you for breaking down and disaggregating our existing ethnicity, race data and the language spoken data to help capture more clarity who you're serving. Out of curiosity, because I've marked this box at some point in my life, what does other Asian category mean?
Yes, I did take a look at that as well. The way it's reported in our uniform data system, there is a check mark for just other Asians. It didn't have a full breakdown of what those other categories were. So what we have for you broken down are the categories that were included in the UDS. But for the other Asians, it was just one broad category.
An additional option for people to self-select.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. And then switching gears a little bit, regarding the sliding fee discount program, can you share a sense of for how many people or how often, I mean, just any type of capture of demographic where this is a burden or a hardship to produce the required documentation to meet the sliding fee schedule program?
Yes, Supervisor, that's a great question. Obviously, documentation requirements specifically for our homeless population is very difficult. A lot of them don't have IDs or documentation or proof of income. There is in that policy a self-attestation that they can also sign, and that's sufficient as documentation or proof of their income.
Oh, that's very helpful to know. Yeah, I know that writ large for our unhoused population, housing insecure population, documentation, vital records is a constant challenge for being able to access other resources. So I was hoping that, well, the hope across the county organization is always how do we crack that nut and get people closer to their vital documentation. But I appreciate the self-attestation eligibility option here. And I was really happy to hear that your operation is providing on-site services at Rue Ferrari and Bernal City shelter sites. I know that was something that this county helped launch last year, really through the work of staff, and the response has been very positive for residents. I've also heard from the city side that it's just allowed them to just achieve better outcomes by leaps and bounds. So thank you so much for engaging in that partnership wholeheartedly, and I look forward to hearing more about that progress in the coming reports. And thank you. No more questions on my part.
All right, Vice President Arenas.
Thank you. Actually, it's one of the questions I had, so I'm glad that was asked. We just never know what the barriers are for folks, right? And it's really important for us to figure out if documentation is a barrier, how can we help facilitate that? Or with our partners who are supporting on a longer term, be able to facilitate any documentation that might be lost in, their transition or any whatever kind of efforts that destabilize our unhoused community. I was going to ask you if we could look at any data like approvals or denials or incomplete applications that could be broken down by language, geography, race, and ethnicity so that we can take a look at maybe where some of these difficulties are happening more, if in case they are. I'm not saying they, we don't really know. I don't know if you track them already, just so that we can take a look at what the gaps in service for folks are for additional support. So if we know that, there's a good number of people in the south part of the county in my district that all in one area or based on a language, that maybe that's part of the barrier, that language would be the barrier or whatever it is that we glean from the data to kind of tell us a story. Is that something that can actually be done and gathered?
That's a great question, Supervisor Arenas. Yes, we do realize that was an issue. We do have a senior HSR who goes for our SLUDOS program to help with this exact thing, who also speaks Spanish. So she does help people enroll in Medi-Cal and get health benefits. We could ask them to track patients who are getting denied. I do know that patients who are getting denied, they do work to get them approved. So I don't know if we're going to get much data on denials, but we can keep an eye out and let our staff.
Well, we don't want them, right?
Yeah.
We deny your denial.
Yeah. So we can definitely get a feel for if people are starting to get denied through the process.
That's great. But if, and it couldn't go obviously beyond Spanish, right? For any language that we may not recognize that it's still being a difficult language to come across. I don't know if earlier today there's a dialect that I had never really heard before. It's part of Mexico called Hidalgo, the state of Hidalgo, and I didn't even know that the state of Hidalgo actually had some of those dialects because I didn't think it was far south enough. But it was Otomi, and I don't know if maybe in the south part of the county there's different trends. I know that there is a different dialect that is more prominent in South County for some of the farm workers, but I wasn't sure if there was maybe additional dialects that we were recognizing that we're having difficulty connecting with people. I would love to find out about that. But even beyond just the dialects, just across the whole county, to take a look at what is happening everywhere in all of our districts. Of course, in particular, I'm interested in the south part of the county, but barriers exist anywhere, and so that would be really important for all of us to know. And then the other thing I was wondering is how many patients are currently involved in the program, and if you think that there's going to be any changes in that enrollment based on some of the revised policy.
Yeah, currently, our under Valley Homeless Healthcare Program, the majority of our patients have Medi-Cal, and they have been enrolled in Medi-Cal for some time. And as Christy mentioned, we have financial counselors that work with them to ensure that they remain on Medi-Cal and during the time when they need to re-enroll. But the large majority of our patients have Medi-Cal.
Right, but this other segment is the sliding fee discount program policy, right?
Correct.
And is that also folks who have Medi-Cal?
Yes.
Or
So the Patient Financial Services Department has one single financial application for folks to apply. And that application allows them to apply for Medi-Cal, for HAP program, and the sliding fee discount program. And the financial counselors will determine what's the most beneficial program that they would go under that has the most coverage for them. And so if Medi-Cal provides the most coverage and has the most benefits, they would be enrolled in Medi-Cal. The sliding fee schedule policy it's only for folks that are up to 200% of the federal poverty level.
Right.
And so a lot of times folks the Medi-Cal program is more advantageous in terms of the benefits and the coverage, so they would be enrolled in that.
Thank you for that. So I'm still wondering about the number of people that are enrolled. Is it because, of course, we want folks to go to Medi-Cal if it benefits them the most, and I'm going to maybe guess that the sliding fee discount program is a little more expensive on people, right? And so I'm just wondering if you could tell me, like, more or less how many people are involved.
Yeah, so for the sliding fee discount program, like you said, there are restrictions. There's actually co-pays for, as you saw in the fee schedule, there's a $5 copay up to 138%, and then a $10 copay. With the other programs like Medi-Cal and HAP there is no copay for those programs, and so they would be more. A lot more folks would be enrolled in the Medi-Cal and the sliding fee discount policy. We don't see very many in the sliding fee discount program. They would be either enrolled in Medi-Cal or our HAP program because it provides them with more benefits.
Thank you. It would just be interesting to find what that actual number is, to see who is not able to meet those eligibility requirements for whatever reason under Medi-Cal or HAP, and who has been, as kind of the last resort, I'm going to guess, because most people probably don't want to pay out of pocket, that is reasonable. So I'm just wondering if maybe the next time you come around, you can share It doesn't have to be an exact, but up to today or, last year, we had this many. And this, obviously, up to this day, in these first 3 months, we had more or less this. And see if there's any real changes, as some folks may not have reapplied for their Medi-Cal, especially those who have insufficient documentation, to see if they transitioned over or not. I just, something just to look out for.
Happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And with that, I don't think we have a motion
Not yet.
on the floor. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's open the public hearing. A public speaking portion.
I have no public speakers.
That made it easy. Thank you. All right. Motion seconded, and if that's the case, let's go take the roll.
All right. On motion of Vice President Arenas, seconded by Supervisor Abe-Koga. Supervisor Abe-Koga? Oh, I'm sorry,
Supervisor Young.
seconded by Supervisor Young. It was hard to tell over there. You guys sound alike. My apologies. All right. Try this again. Moved by Supervisor Arenas, seconded by Supervisor Young. Supervisor Abe-Koga.
Aye.
Supervisor Young.
Yes.
Vice President Arenas.
Yes.
President Lee.
Aye as well.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And then we get to move to item 13, our monthly legislative report from our intergovernment relations team. And I see Monica Tong there. Good morning. Still.
And good morning, Mr. President.
Oh, yes. Hi. Dave Campos up there, too. Go ahead. Hi, Dave.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Arenas, Honorable Supervisors, David Campos, Deputy County Executive. I'm here from sunny Sacramento. My apologies that I'm not in chambers today, but there's a lot of activity going on in Sacramento, which is why we're here, why I'm here. And with me to help with this presentation are Monica Tong and Elaine Trin, program managers for the Intergovernmental Relations team. If we can go to the next slide. As you know, we are responsible at IGR for overseeing the legislative priorities of the County of Santa Clara. We work with this board to develop legislative priorities and policies which the board adopted. And our goal, especially in these times, is to make sure that Santa Clara County, that our interests are represented as much as possible, not only in Sacramento, but in Washington, D.C. If we can move to the next slide. You're going to hear now from Monica, who's going to talk a little bit more about some of the work that's happening at the state level. But before I turn it to her, I just want to note, as you heard from our county executive, he just testified at a hearing last week. And as you can see, for all the hearings that have been taking place for the last few weeks, you will see that a constant presence in those hearings is the County of Santa Clara, not only in providing testimony, but really driving the agenda that has been embraced along the three prongs that the county executive has previously discussed. And I think it is that level of engagement that is needed to make sure that the interests of our constituents, your constituents as elected members, that they are addressed. And so we're very proud of the level of engagement that we have reached in Sacramento. So with that, I'll turn it over to Monica.
Thank you, David. Good morning. Yes, still morning to everyone. The state legislature has been busy with budget and oversight hearings. David just mentioned that the county has had really great opportunities for a variety of experts to visit the Sacramento region on follow-ups to bills as well as budget. So that has been very helpful in our advocacy efforts. The legislature is about to take their 1-week spring recess upon adjournment on Thursday, and they have started hearing the over 1,200 assembly bills that were introduced and over 600 Senate bills that were introduced this year. Nearly 600 are spot bills, so we will still have to wait a little bit to fully understand all of the bill's intent, but that should be coming shortly. During the March-April timeframe, policy committees will meet and evaluate bills, and this is a really critical time for the county and our partners to review bills and identify their impacts. And related to budget, the next major milestone is the second week of May, when the governor's May revision is scheduled to be released. As mentioned earlier, the legislature continues to hold informational hearings on budget and HR 1 impacts. The county and many of its associations, including UCC, have submitted budget priority letters. The county submitted a budget priority letter that outlined HR 1 requests, plus other areas of concern, including the cost shift to counties through MCRT and IHSS, as well as HAP funding, VOCA, and full cost recovery for special events. At this time, we look forward to working with OEM on Super Bowl cost recovery. And the county also has an HR 1 priority letter, which includes the dedicated funding for public hospitals, preserving enrollment, allocating new resources for indigent care, and supporting the request from the California Welfare Directors Association. IGR would like to thank Supervisor Young for her leadership with the UCC budget letter, and Supervisor Ellenberg with the outcoming of the CSAC request. And the Sacramento team continues to provide public comment where possible. Some hearings have been so long that they have not allowed public comment, but we are there to provide the county's perspective whenever we can. Related to our county-sponsored bill by Assemblymember Clara, AB 1658 is co-sponsored with LA County, and this bill aims to encourage cost savings change orders for large-scale construction projects. We do anticipate the bill to be heard in April. And regarding co-sponsor bills, based on the authority in the legislative policies document, the county has co-sponsored 2 bills so far, SB 1099, that is sponsored by the Civil Prosecutors Coalition, that clarifies in state law that state and local programs may be administered to local communities regardless of immigration status, and SB 1422 by Senator Maria Elena Durazo to keep all people on Medi-Cal regardless of immigration status. SB 1422 will be heard on April 8th by Senate committee, and I forgot to mention this, but SB 1099 will be heard tomorrow, where our very own county counsel will provide lead expert testimony. And at this time, I'll hand it over to Elaine for the federal update.
Thanks, Monica. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. The federal government still remains in a partial shutdown due to funding of the Homeland Security Appropriations Bill. Negotiations are still ongoing and the pressure continues due to the conflict in the Middle East and the widespread impacts that we're seeing at airports across the nation. The Democrats are still pushing for ICE reforms, and as of last night, there seems to be some willingness of the White House to fund the Homeland Security bill without ICE. This willingness comes just after the Senate confirmed Mark Wayne Mullen's appointment as a new DHS secretary, and the vote came mostly along party lines. And since the last IGR update, the House Appropriations Chair released guidance for community project funding. House members opened and closed their applications since then. The county has submitted congressional direct spending and community project requests for fiscal year 2027. This includes the Homestead Safe Routes to School project and a fire hazards mitigation project. IGR received several submittals from departments, but upon release of subcommittee guidance, the other projects were deemed ineligible as criteria differs for the various funding bills. For example, Labor HHS Subcommittee in the House prohibits entities that provide information about reproductive care and gender-affirming care from receiving funds. So this is a prohibition unique to Labor HHS, and so the county did not submit applications there. And with that, I'll turn it back to David.
Thank you very much. And before we take your questions, I want to highlight a couple of points that I think are important in terms of the work in both Sacramento and in DC. In Sacramento, we're very proud that not only did we send out our own budget letter that in many respects, set the table for what other entities are requesting they're really following the leadership of the county in terms of the 3 items. But we also put together a letter that was signed by every member of our delegation, 8 of the 9, because the speaker, technically a speaker, cannot sign such a letter because it's a letter that would go to himself. But in any event, 8 of our delegation members signed the letter where they're basically supporting the HR 1 budget asks that we have made. And I think that's very significant. The other point that I would note is that we are the first county to support SB 1422, which is the bill that would restore coverage for Medi-Cal to all Californians, irrespective of immigration status. And we believe that that's a very important thing to do because that population, if it's not covered, the coverage will end up leaving it up to counties to decide what to do with them. And we think that's important for us to be on record. And we now hear that other counties are following the leadership of the county of Santa Clara. The last thing that I would note with respect to the earmarks at the federal level, the way that we try to approach earmarks is really strategic, and we try to make the case for the request early on, and we try to emphasize the requests when we then have our visit that usually happens in February in Washington, D.C. And so far, we're getting very positive response from the offices on the 2 items that we've submitted. And I think that really shows the effectiveness of the strategy. So with that, I will say thank you to our IGR team. Thank you to the IGR staff for all the work that they're doing, not only in San Jose, but right now, given everything that's happening in Sacramento. And of course, thank you to all the county staff, including some of our deputy county executives, our county executive who have been coming to Sacramento. It is that presence that makes it so that we are able to move the needle in Sacramento. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. I have got some lights here. I just want to ask my colleague, would you want to hear the public first?
Yes.
Before? Is it okay? Yeah. Anybody in public like to speak on this item?
We currently have no public speakers in chambers nor online.
Great, thank you. I'll close the public speaking portion of it. I think Young's lights on first.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to kick off by making a motion to receive the report, but I also want to express my gratitude. Thank the IGR team and the county executive's office, specifically Brian Darrow, for working with my office to hold a special study session of the FGOC committee this past Friday on the state budget impacts to our residents and workers as framed by HR 1. We heard directly from key members of our state delegation, including Assembly members Clara, Assembly member Ahrens, and State Senator Cortese. And we'll be reporting out from that committee soon, but the message was loud and clear. The big highlight was that we need to be in Sacramento. Our advocates need to come out in droves, and we need to be on every door and every hallway, in addition to all of the work that our IGR team is doing, that our IGR team is a constant mainstay in Sacramento advocating. I want to give a shout out to Assemblymember Patrick Ahrens, who personally circulated our advocacy letter and was able to get all of the support from our state delegation representing the Bay Area region and the county. And just want to also give a shout out to Vice Chair Ellenberg, who's doing everything she can in her role as CSAC president. I know there is a big flurry, a lot of movement for CSAC to get a lot of advocacy out, and also for the UCC, the Urban Counties Caucus, to also have their letter of advocacy out. And a lot of that was modeled based on the framework that Santa Clara County led, and that's not being lost upon the members of the various caucuses at CSAC. A lot of references and mention is made of Santa Clara County, and so James, during your report, I held off on my comments knowing that we were going to receive this report, that while we tend to the work here every single day, every single moment, we are also keeping a simultaneous eye towards Sacramento and really leading the way for the rest of the county. So at the Special FGOC meeting, we received nearly 2 hours of public comment, and I also want to just thank all of the staff who stayed beyond 2 hours past my promised end time for the committee meeting and was able to receive all that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. And I actually would like to second on this one and also have one other bill would like to mention to see if the maker would entertain to add on to the motion. And is to add AB 1761, 1761 by Assembly Member Rogers to the list of supported bills to include the bill in the county's 2026 legislative policies. I myself, as a member agency of the Silicon Valley Clean Energy, SVCE, our county represents hundreds of thousands of residents and businesses who rely on us to advocate for affordable, reliable, and transparent energy services. AB 1761 would require the CPUC to provide data used to calculate charges related to the Power Charge Indifference Adjustment, PCIA, to load-serving entities and ratepayer advocates. I'll not even try to attempt to explain what PCIA is right now, but it's one of the most complex calculations I've encountered up to 2 hours explanation. But transparency is how these charges are calculated is truly essential, and as PCIA directly impacts electricity costs for residents and local businesses. In recent proceedings, key data underlying PCI-related proposals has not been fully disclosed, limiting ability of public agencies like SVCE to assess rate impacts before our decisions were made. And without full access to information, it's difficult to effectively represent our constituents, ensure that taxpayers' interests are protected. Our ratepayers' interests are protected. So AB 1761 will improve the transparency, allowing community choice aggregators like SVCE and their member agencies, including our county, to better evaluate proposals and provide informed input. And so this will certainly lead to more thoughtful decision-making and better outcomes for our communities that we serve. So I hope you'll be able to support.
I'm happy to include consideration of AB 1761 into the motion to receive report. And I just want to be clear that I'm not making a motion to include it right now, but to consider inclusion. I really think that IGR should vet it first and give us a recommendation on whether to include it or not. Again, just because I don't understand the science around this, and you know, we want to make sure that I'm sure it's good. But really want to make sure that our team of experts are able to vet it and review it on balance with everything that we're doing. If that's okay with you, Otto?
Sure. Would it, I mean, just in terms of timing issue, would it be too late if we don't approve it today? We're coming back. Yeah, David.
If I may, Mr.
I'll just
President.
chime in,
Sure.
if it's okay, that what Supervisor Jung is proposing is what would be appropriate under the Brown Act.
Oh,
Because
okay.
we don't
All right.
have an
Good.
actual support
Okay.
position
All right.
noticed on
Let's
the
just do
agenda.
that then. Thank you.
And if I may, Mr. President,
Yes.
through the chair, we're happy to look at that bill. That looks like something that would be supportive based on, you know, just sort of a superficial review of the bill, but we'll follow up and make sure that we keep you posted.
Great.
And we'll connect very shortly.
Perfect. Thank you so much, David.
And thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Absolutely.
I have it pulled up here, and there's a lot of science that I have yet to understand. But I look forward to learning about it. Thank you.
It's a lot. All right. I think Supervisor Bakoga lights first, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and thank you for adding AB 1761 for consideration. I, having served on SVCE, took a while to understand. It's basically an exit fee that PG&E charges as they downturn in their production or their availability of energy. And every year, the CCAs get a number, but there's no explanation. It's like a black box. We have no idea how that number is formulated in terms of what this exit fee is going to cost the residents who are part of a community choice aggregator. So it's really to try to get some transparency and predictability because it fluctuates every year, and so it makes it really difficult for CCAs to project a budget when they don't know what this number is going to be. So I hope that staff can come back with a recommendation to support that. I wanted to ask SB 1422. It sounds like a great piece of legislation. Do we have a sense for the fiscal impact to the county or the savings we might see?
If I may, through the chair, we're actually trying to gather more data and more information on that question, Supervisor Abekoga. But clearly, if this population is not covered, and in Santa Clara, we know that we're talking about more than 70,000 or so residents that are part of the state-only Medi-Cal program. So if those folks are not covered, the impact could be pretty significant. But we can follow up and provide that information as we collect it, as we're in the process of doing that.
That'd be great if you could
I would
keep
just add,
us-
it depends on kind of your projection of how quickly people will drop off of current coverage. But assuming significant percentages of folks do, which is likely, and that's the intent by what the legislature and governor approved last year, we're looking at definitely well over $100 million in ongoing impact.
Sorry, how much?
Well over $100 million in
100
ongoing impact, easily. Just looking at the raw numbers, I mean, we have over 70,000 individuals on this program here in Santa Clara County.
Wow.
So that's substantial and significant.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the request of one-time grant funding for the Safe Routes to School and the fire hazard mitigation financial assistance. I was wondering if you have a sense of when we might hear about these. I noticed our members of Congress have been announcing and some of the funding that they've received for their local communities. I don't know if it's on a rolling basis or it's a one-time thing that's happening now.
So I'm happy to have Elaine Trent provide any more detail, but I'm happy to report that on both of those items, we have heard from members of our delegation that they will be submitting those requests.
Great.
Whether or not they're successful ultimately in terms of getting these funded by the Republican-led Congress remains a question. But again, I think it just shows the effectiveness of our advocacy that it looks like this will be submitted. But Elaine, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, thanks, David. Thank you, Supervisor, for the question. I think what you're seeing from our congressional delegation now is funding that we receive for fiscal year 26. So those ones were just announced because the appropriation bills had just passed. And so now we're applying for fiscal year 27.
Okay.
They have a deadline until April 17th to post the project that they've selected on their website. So that's when we'll know. And then after that, we'll know if the project made it into the appropriations bill. So there's still quite a few steps before we know for certain.
Great.
Elaine, can you remind the board what we were able to obtain, which I think we should be very proud of?
Yeah, happy to. For fiscal year 26, we received funding for VASC, the Small Business Resource Center. We got funding for 10 Kirk as well.
That's right.
We also received funding for an agricultural resource center. We received $250,000 for Marshall Cottle Park as well. So quite a lot of funding that we received for fiscal year 26.
Great, thank you. Thank you, great work. And finally, thank you for the letter that you submitted to the governor, the ledge committees about reimbursement for the full cost of sporting events. Have we received any kind of response yet on that?
We haven't received a formal response, but we're constantly watching that item and happy to continue to report to the board.
Have you heard other areas? LA's they're hosting a number of events. Like, are you seeing other areas asking for similar?
Yes, and you have, with respect to FIFA, for instance, you have a Bay Area host committee, you have a Southern California host committee, and we're working very closely with them to make sure that that we're making a joint ask and that no one is left out. I think that the fact that it impacts both parts of the state makes it a stronger ask. So that's why we're cautiously optimistic.
Great. Thank you so much for your good work.
Yes, Vice President Renes.
Thank you, and congratulations to all for all the really great work, especially the securing of the funding. That was really exciting. And of course, the continued advocacy that is happening to make sure that our the needs of our county as well as the counties across the state are heard and hopefully prioritized. Great work on having FGOC be a vehicle for folks to come in and share information. Although I wish I would known, I would have sat in the audience just to hear some of these updates. Would it be possible to get a summary, an executive summary of what transpired for those of us who are not part of FGOC?
I'll take that. Our office is working on it.
I didn't expect you, Supervisor. I expected IGR or the
Oh,
CEO's office.
Thank you. But it's because it was a special meeting. Our office is preparing the summary report out with the help of IGR and the county exec's office. And I should have said this during my comments. We plan to have it out by Friday.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, great. And the last thing is, it would be wonderful to include the whole board in future study sessions that we can all benefit from and figure out our place and role in order to continue to advocate at a state level. Thank you.
If I may add one more thing, Mr. President, through the chair, one thing that I would note about the FGOC hearing is that a lot of folks in Sacramento have actually paid attention to that hearing, and there are now suggestions for other counties that they should probably try to do the same, because it provides an opportunity for each county to, put their delegation members on record on the asks that have been made by each county. So for what it's worth, is something that other counties are paying attention to.
Thank you, David. I think that is wonderful. My ask is that the full board be a participant in any of the future hearings that will take place that are similar. Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion, we got a second, and we have taken public. There's no public speaking, so let's go take a vote.
Thank you. On motion of Supervisor Young, seconded by President Lee, Supervisor Abekoga.
Aye.
Supervisor Young?
Yes.
Vice President Arenas?
Yes.
President Lee?
Aye as well.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, just want to thank David, Monica, Elaine, and the full IGR team for a great work. Thank you. And I will be seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on item 15, which is the receiving report from Department of Planning and Development relating to 2025 annual progress report regarding the County of Santa Clara housing element and our general plan.
Good morning, President.
Actually, good afternoon already.
Oh, good afternoon.
Jack.
Yes. 10 minutes after. Good afternoon, President Lee, board members. Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development. With me this afternoon is Principal Planner Sam Gutierrez, Associate Planner Riva Kakaria, and County Counsel Miriam Sandag. And we have also David Campos with Intergovernmental Affairs, who will assist us as appropriate. The item before you this morning is the annual progress report in accordance with Government Code 6500, where we come back to the board in March normally to speak on the 2023-2031 housing element and the county general plan. I will turn the presentation over to Reva Kakaria as she has a presentation, and then we'll have opportunity for Mr. Campos to speak to the progress that has been made in Sacramento. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Reva Kakaria, and I'm an associate planner with the Department of Planning and Development. As Director Anciano mentioned, we bring this item to the board every March pursuant to Government Code 65400A2. We're required to report on the general plan and housing element to the Department of Housing and Community Development and the Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation every year by April 1st. and today's report covers January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. HCD requires that we report in a specific format broken up by a number of tables on the housing element, and the highlighted rows on the screen are those that contain reportable information for the county from the past calendar year. Tables A and A2 refer to dwelling units that were submitted, entitled, issued, and received final certificates of occupancy. In 2025, the county received 2,197 submitted dwelling unit applications, including 2,005 from planning applications and 195 from building permits. 33 dwelling units were entitled, 120 dwelling units were issued building permits, and 96 dwelling units received final certificates of occupancy. The county's regional housing needs allocation is 3,125 units for this cycle. Table D of the Housing Element Annual Progress Report reports on the program implementation from the housing element. The housing element contains 68 programs, which are broken up into 262 objectives, and HCD requires that each objective is reported on individually. Of these 262 objectives, 62 have been completed, 79 are continually ongoing, 50 are in progress, and 71 have not yet been started. Programs are implemented by the Office of Supportive Housing, the Department of Planning and Development, Behavioral Health Services, and the Office of the County Executive. As an example of a program and its objectives, Program 2.06, Streamline ADU Processing, is broken up into 6 objectives. Here, objectives A, D, and E are in progress, C and F are continuous, and objective B for pre-approved building plans is complete. The pre-approved building plans are available on the department's website and provide several different options for ADU construction. Moving on to the general plan report. General plan programs and policies are implemented by the Department of Planning and Development, the Office of Supportive Housing, the Public Health Department, Behavioral Health Services, the Roads and Airport Department, County Parks, the Office of the County Executive, and the Division of Agriculture. Implementation details are described in Attachment A. Several updates and amendments to the general plan are currently underway, including updates to the safety element, health and environmental justice element, circulation and mobility element, and the parks, open space, and recreation element. There are also updates to the county's zoning ordinance, which is an implementing document of the general plan underway, including the rural zoning amendments project. To conclude, staff continues to implement the housing element and general plan and are looking ahead to the housing element mid-cycle review. Additionally, staff will continue to make progress on general plan updates and zoning ordinance amendments. Staff will electronically submit the annual progress report to HCD and LCI by the deadline of April 1st, 2026.
Thank you, Ms. Kakaria. At this point, we will pivot to David Campos. If David Campos, if you would give an update, and we have, we'll go to the slide. Just a moment. Mr. Campos, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I can just provide the update. As you may recall, President Lee, Vice President Arenas, honorable members, at the November 2025 meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved its 2026 legislative platform, and included in that platform was a direction to IGR to advance housing element policy changes to give the county the ability to implement and follow state law. And based on that direction, we have been working very closely with different players in Sacramento, beginning with the urban counties, because we, as we noted earlier, recognize that the kind of changes that we are hoping for really require partnership with other counties and other jurisdictions. And as we reported at the Hewlett meeting, we're happy to report that the urban counties recognize that this is an issue that also impacts other counties. And so they have taken it upon themselves to work with us to actually pursue legislation. And the legislation, would try to make the kinds of changes that we would like to see regarding development proposals and the issue associated with housing allocation credits where there is annexation. And conversations have been had by the urban counties with different prospective authors, including a couple of members that expressed interest in pursuing legislation. The timing of the request did not align with something being presented, but there are ongoing conversations, and we hope that for the upcoming legislative session that we will be able to put together a proposal that addresses the issues that have been identified as priorities for the county. Again, we're cautiously optimistic moving forward. We're going to continue the momentum, continue the conversations with a couple of the authors that have expressed an interest in this issue, and we'll keep the board informed as that work proceeds. And thank you to our planning department for making themselves available given the technical nature of some of the questions involved. So with that, I'm happy to take any other questions and turn it back to the planning director.
We are available for any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Sure. Do we have any public who like to speak on this item?
I currently have no speakers in chambers or on Zoom.
All right, let's close the public speaking portion. Vice President.
Thank you. And thank you for the report. I'm concerned about the housing units that are left that we need to accomplish. I know that we had a tremendous increase, and one of the developments that we hoped would cover a great portion of the 3125, I think is the number that we had, would be in my district. What do we have in the pipeline? Because I believe this project is no longer under the county, it is now at the city, correct?
That is correct.
So I'm wondering, at this point, with the number that we have, I'm really concerned. So we've received 2,005 applications for 2,005 units, but we only have 120 building permits, and of those, 96 have had final inspections. And all of those are above moderate income units. And so what I'm hoping to get is more information about the imbalance in the housing production across all income levels. And I'd like to, make a motion to approve the report and request an off agenda, requesting administration to outline a clear strategy to address the imbalance in housing production across all income levels. And the memo should include all the strategies on how the department plans to meet our RENA obligations across all income levels, and two, to incorporate agricultural worker housing into the strategy, which means just really encouraging applications under AB 3035, which I believe one has been accepted so far, which one is none. I love that. I just wonder what we can do to help encourage that production as well.
Okay, thank you. I've got a motion.
Second.
Yes, second by Supervisor Abikoga. Yes. Supervisor Abikoga, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you for the report. I appreciate the work that's being done, and the fact that we have 2,000 units in a year is quite a quite a bit of progress. But as mentioned, I know we have some challenges with annexations. What is the risk level of our county's housing element becoming uncertified mid-cycle if we don't find alternatives to the units that are
At
getting
this
taken
point,
away.
Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning Development, at this point, we're not in a place to speak to the risks. We have the mid-cycle coming up.
Okay.
And so once we report on the mid-cycle and where we're at,
Mhm.
I think we'll be in a better position to assess the risk.
Okay, great. In regards to the different income levels, this has just been ongoing, but it's, difficult to produce units in the low income or the affordable housing categories, mainly because there's a need for funding and resources. And every jurisdiction is experiencing this. And and maybe this is for Mr. Campos, but do you get any sense of understanding from the state legislature about that? Just the pure nature of the issue being that there's not enough funding for affordable housing, and is the state looking at addressing that in any way?
If I may, through the chair, Supervisor Abacoga, I mean, that's a point that we have been making for quite some time, that one of the challenges facing the affordability crisis is that there is insufficient state and federal funds for projects that try to bring affordability into the picture. And, we continue to advocate. Whether the state will do something about that, I don't know that I can say one way or the other. I know that it's a very challenging time for the state, and that's one of the reasons why jurisdictions like Santa Clara in the past have pursued local bond measures to fund affordability, as we did with Measure A.
Right.
But that's one of the challenges, and as you know, that's one of the reasons why at different times there has been pursuit of a regional housing measure, and so it's up in the air, but we will continue to advocate strongly for that.
Okay, thank you. And then another revision request for the RENA cycle was to look at asking that they extend it from 8 to 10 years, given that it took 2.5 years for most jurisdictions to even pass the housing element or get it certified. Is there any movement on that?
At the state level, if I may, all of those ideas are on the table, and those are ideas that we have presented to the various members that we're
Okay.
in conversation with.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Supervisor Young.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Abacoga, for bringing the affordability issue. That was one of my concerns. It is, I'm sure, a concern we all share that that we don't seem to have much diversity in the income level being applied for, and meanwhile we have this affordability crisis. So thank you to David and to the team for continuing to try to figure that out. And I just want to just express my appreciation to my thanks to staff, not just for the comprehensive accounting of all the county has been up to when it comes to creating more and better housing in our community, but also for doing the work. It's often planning or OSH making the presentation because you bear the majority of the work, but I know the work stretches across broad sectors of our organization, everything from public health to roads. So thank you to everyone and to our planning team for corralling and getting everybody on board with that. And reading all the fine print in the appendices, I find myself looking for qualitative understanding of where we are at this point in the housing element life cycle, very much aligned with some of the questions that have been brought up today, the geographical dispersal of the 2,000 plus housing number, and just want to echo the sentiment in terms of when the report comes back, that we have a more expression of where the geographical dispersal is, the income levels, whether this was really driven by, was it primary? I know some parts of it was driven by builder's remedy, but just being able to understand how much of it was driven by builder's remedy and where that may be coming into conflict with spaces we're trying to preserve. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anything else to respond, Jack? We're good?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Yes, no, first of all, thank you so much for the report. This is never easy. I'm trying to meet these RENA goals. And I just wanted to commend that you guys have been working hard on putting that together. But certainly we have still so much more opportunities to find opportunities for housing, like especially the issue of farm workers, as well as mentioned by our Vice President. The reality is, you want to build housing that is a higher end income, it's far easier, but the lower part, in terms of income level, is where we're struggling. So let's see what we could do more to help improve, because that's where the highest need for housing that is truly lacking in this county right now. So, okay, I think we have addressed that, and if no further comments, let's take the roll.
Thank you. On motion of Vice President Arenas, seconded by Supervisor Abekoga. Supervisor Abekoga.
Aye.
Vice President Young.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Young. Vice President Arenas.
Yes.
President Lee.
Aye as well.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And let's see, I think it looks like we are now getting to the end of agenda, correct, Tony? We don't have anything left? Okay, so now we will be able to adjourn today's meeting. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, April 14th at 9:30, same time, same place. Thank you so much for the clerks and security staff and administration. Let the record reflect it's 12:25 p.m. Thank you.